Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Thursday, March 10th, Ian Cameron with you on a loaded Thursday NHL card. It is a massive night of hockey on tap, and that's on top of what is a massive day and night in college basketball with conference tournament action, wall-to-wall, noon till late at night this evening. So it is a great day to be a sports fan, sports bettor in multiple sports. But of course, we're here from a hockey perspective. So the focus will be this massive Thursday night NHL card. Not only massive in terms of size with 13 games, but massive in terms of some of the matchups we have tonight. Colorado and Carolina is a very potential Stanley Cup Finals preview that we're going to see tonight with those two teams head to head. We've got obviously some very interesting matchups as well with the Rangers and the Blues, two teams going in opposite directions right now at this point in time. St. Louis struggling a bit. You got Tampa Bay, Calgary, I should say, which is a great hockey game as well. And even some of the under radar games, Arizona, Toronto, the Coyotes playing their best hockey of the season right now up against a Toronto team that they haven't won any games easily the last little while. And of course, Vegas and Buffalo, where you've got Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs facing their former team. And of course, Jack Eichel making his return to Buffalo to play against his old team for the first time as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. So it is a very, very scrumptious night of hockey for sure on the show today. All right, let's get to it. We'll start with Chicago taking on Boston. The first game on the board, of course, as we do each and every day on the show, we go in rotation order with every single game. We've got Boston minus 290, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. It's an interesting one here. It's a big price, obviously, on the Boston Bruins, who are coming off an overtime loss to the LA Kings. I cashed a ticket betting against the Bruins as home favorites. That first game off a very successful road trip, mostly through the Pacific time zone and Western Conference teams. And it ended, of course, in Columbus on a night where they retired the jersey number of Rick Nash, who, of course, played briefly with Boston as well, but mostly his career with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So got to give the Bruins credit, definitely, for being a team that definitely was able to got through that road trip and have some pretty good performances overall. They had that kind of lethargic game. They didn't play as bad as I thought they might against the LA Kings. And the Kings needed a late goal from Trevor Moore to tie the game. We have to keep that in mind. But didn't look like a favorable spot to me for the Boston Bruins on Monday night. And, of course, the Kings got the victory in overtime. But you'd expect the Bruins looking to bounce back here at home here against Chicago. We were on the BetCast Tuesday night with the Chicago Blackhawks just taking apart the Anaheim Ducks. We were totally stunned by that. Not that they aren't capable of scoring, but obviously things are not very good in terms of keeping the puck out of the net right now for the Anaheim Ducks. And they just dismantled Anaheim in that game. Very impressive overall from the Chicago Blackhawks there. And certainly offensively, look, they're going to probably have to find their way to scoring some goals in this game simply because night in, night out, do we trust Chicago defensively? No. The good news is you've got a goalie that is very capable of masking a lot of defensive blunders in Marc-Andre Fleury, but just found out this morning, of course, not going to be Marc-Andre Fleury tonight in that for Chicago. It will be Kevin Lankinen instead, and that's a downgrade. That's a downgrade, especially with what we have seen from Lankinen here in recent starts for the Blackhawks. I think we've talked about this a lot this season here on the show, that he's definitely struggled, fought the puck a little bit, not necessarily played well here for the Chicago Blackhawks, or consistent in between the pipes. And when you have a defense that can be a little bit shaky in front of you, you need solid goaltending. And 3.57 goals against average, 885 save percentage, over 15 appearances in between the pipes for Kevin Lankinen is not what I would call solid goaltending. So this is going to be a little bit of a difficult spot. I like Boston team total tonight, over 3.5, minus 125. It's a reasonable price. This goes back to that old saying, why would you lay minus 290 with the Bruins when you can get a team total over 3.5, minus 125 against a Chicago defense that's leaky at the best of times and a goaltender that you really don't trust? to keep the puck out of the net. I think that's the best approach here in this game. If you're going to attack this one from either a side or a totals perspective, is look at maybe Boston in particular to find the back of the net and get you 4+ here in this game. As far as Boston's concerned, looks like they're pretty healthy right now. I mean, other than Matt Grzelcyk, who's going to be out tonight. Other than that, though, healthy on the blue line, healthy up front. Good to see. And obviously playing good hockey aside from the loss against LA. Found ways to win. So I think if you're going to get involved in this game, Bruins team total over 3.5 would be the look. However, Jake DeBrusk certainly will look at him from a prop stand. It's been a little quiet the last couple of games, but it feels like, to me, gut feel that he's going to find a little bit tonight. Point, maybe get on the board, score a goal. But certainly from a Chicago standpoint, this is someone now we've cashed, I think, 2 or 3 games in a row, a goal scorer prop with, and that's Dylan Strome. You got to rock with him right now, even with Jeremy Swayman in net for the Bruins, and even with Boston looking to bounce back after a home OT loss to LA. Dylan Strome has got a boatload of offensive confidence right now for the Chicago Blackhawks. So there's no doubt Dylan Strome goal scorer prop. We're riding that wave again one more time tonight. Andrew McInnis is with us. Andrew, welcome in. It's
What's
a great
up?
night of hockey coming up. 13 games. What do you think here, Chicago-Boston?
Yeah, lots of games. So we'll I'll keep things short when I'm giving my picks out here. But yeah, I think the Bruins, these are the kind of games that you want to stack some confidence, build upon. And the past couple of weeks, they've kind of been a different team. They were kind of the definition of inconsistent for a little while. Now you take a look at this team, and even the losses they're having are kind of just by one goal, which is still some very competitive hockey here. I think the full game over in general is a spot. We have seen better goaltending from the Bruins, but you take a look at the game Chicago's played recently. We're talking about an 8-3 game and a 6-3 game, 4-3, 4-3. That 8-5 game against the Devils. I mean, this is a team. 6 their last 7 games have gone over. And Boston, I get it. They can be a good, low-scoring team as well and a good defensive team. But I just have that feeling we're going to see 2 teams clash here at a 5.5, and we're going to see some goals in this one here at the Garden tonight. So I'll preface it with this, Ian. A lot of the 5.5s today, I like to go over. A lot of the 6.5s, I'm kind of leaning more towards the under here. So we'll see how that plays out. First game here, staying off the side. Give me the over.
Yeah, all I know is leaning toward any under in the NHL the last 4 or 5 days has been a rough go right now. I mean, it has been over Palooza in this league. It really
and
has
live
been
betting too, man.
Yeah.
Like Alex talks about it. Yesterday, the full game over hit for the Canadians, but I ended up getting the over 5.5 live plus 160.
Yeah.
Like you could, if you obviously nobody wants to be just watching their live odds constantly, but if you pick your spots like Alex was talking about yesterday on the show, you can make some serious money. There's been nights where I've lost like with my pregame bets and came out on top with live bets easily. These
of course.
overs.
Yeah, no question. You can definitely take advantage of those instances. I'm just looking back, like Tuesday night, the majority, all but on Tuesday night during the betcast, we had all but 2 games end up going over all but 3 games, I should say, end up going over the total that night in the NHL. We had both games go over the total last night. We had a 9-1 over result with the 10 games on Saturday this past weekend. I mean, it's just been over Palooza. I'm not betting a single under tonight. And it doesn't mean I'm taking every game over, but it's difficult right now. You'd think once we get past the trade deadline, people are always asking me, when's the tide going to turn, Ian? When are we going to start seeing more unders? When are we going to start to see this damn league tighten up across the board and start to play a little bit more lower scoring hockey as we approach the playoffs? And I keep coming back to if I had to pick a time frame, it's going to be post-trade deadline. That's when I think we're going to start to see at least a little tighter hockey. I mean, it's not going to be these 6-5 games every night. Can't keep going on this way. You would think it's not going to keep going on this way, but definitely something to just keep in the back of your mind that there's going to be a moment where the overs are going to level off. They're going to at some point. It's just a question of when. I think it's probably trade deadline. We might look at that being the case. All right, next up, we go to Vegas and Buffalo. Like I said, this is actually one of the more intriguing games tonight, simply because of all the backstory that's going on into this game. The Golden Knights and the Sabres, Vegas minus 200, 205 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. So I stayed off Vegas in regulation the other night against the Flyers, and I'm kind of staying off that tonight as well. I mean, I've got to see better from the Vegas Golden Knights. I got to see some finish from them offensively before I'm ready to trust them here tonight. You'd think maybe there's an opportunity that they can find the back of the net and finish. They are playing Buffalo. They are playing Craig Anderson, who just got absolutely lit up last time but he got lit up last time, though, against the Florida Panthers. Just an absolute machine offensively. So we should cut the 40-year-old a little slack. A lot of a lot of goalies are going to give up a six-pack.
He doesn't really show up every game.
No.
But then he'll turn into Craig the brick wall again every now and then too, eh?
Yeah, and he led them to a victory against Minnesota, and he got peppered in that game. He was great against Toronto when they went to into TO and beat the Leafs 5-1. So he's still capable every now and then of that really good start. This is not a game I'm going to do much with in terms of the side or the total. This is definitely a prop game for me. You know which team players we're targeting. We're targeting all the players going back to face their former team. That would be Peyton Krebs for Buffalo. That would be Alex Tuch for Buffalo against Vegas. There's always that added little incentive here. Hey, you guys put me in that Jack Eichel deal, I'll show you, and a little bit of that incentive. So whatever way you want to approach it, you guys know when I recommend a player prop, the avenues I'm looking at. I'm looking at shots on goal. I'm looking at points, especially over these at 1.5s. You look on Twitter last night, we cashed a couple of these over 1.5s at plus 200, plus 300 prices on these points props. They are better. Screw the 0.5s. To score a point. I'm looking for the bargain bin. I'm looking for the value. The over 1.5, you can find that. Look at JT Miller last night. Hell, you could have bet him over 3.5 points against Montreal last night. Those are great opportunities, in my opinion, at great prices to attack that market from a player prop standpoint. So definitely Krebs and Tuch for Buffalo. Eichel, it goes without saying, to score, maybe even sprinkle on 2+ goals. He wants to stick it to Buffalo. Let's be honest. He does.
Yeah.
The organization, was not right with him. Well, whoever's at fault, you could debate. Was it Eichel's at fault? Eichel at fault? His camp was the Sabres, ridiculous for their refusal to let him have the surgery. Whatever. It's old news. The point is, he thought the Sabres were in the wrong. He didn't like it. He didn't like how they conducted themselves. He wanted out. He had enough. And now tonight he's going to go back there, and I think he's going to want to have a huge game. So there you go. Jack Eichel, shots on goal, score a goal, score 2+ goals, score a point. I'm going over 1.5 points on Jack Eichel as well. Now, the problem is Vegas hasn't been scoring consistently game in and game out. They haven't. And look what just happened against Philadelphia. Carter Hart was a stone wall against this team. But is that going to keep on going forever? We'll see. They still have a couple key guys out, too. Let's not forget that. McNabb and Martinez still out on the blue line. Stone is still out up front. Riley Smith now out for the Golden Knights. Part of that Misfits line that's been together, I think, pretty much their whole tenure with Vegas all these years. Smith, Carlson, and Marchessault. And now you take a key component, of that line out of your lineup. Riley Smith not playing. Leonard still out. Brett Howden, who's actually had a nice season in a third-line role, is out as well. So definitely key absences for Vegas. A lot to overcome for them. Laurent Brossoit will be in net tonight for them because of Leonard being out. So we'll see how he fares. He's capable. More than anything, that's a prop game, as I mentioned. And gave you a bunch of players there that I'm looking at in this one. Andrew, what do you think? Vegas, Buffalo.
Yeah, I find it kind of peculiar, Ian. I'm getting like 2.5-ish for depending on where you shop around for Alex Tuch on his shots on goal. I understand that Tage Thompson's been kind of the guy. He's been the consistent shots on goal guy, but I don't like to always play into these, revenge stuff. But I mean, even if it wasn't against his old team, I still would look at this potentially. Add that in. I mean, I know you talked about it already, but is there anything you would say that would talk me out of playing Tuch over 2.5 shots tonight? I mean, that's, like you said, it's a prop game. I don't want to give a side or total in this game. I might play it live, but I'm looking at a lot of different stuff in here. And one, I'm trying to pull it up. So I apologize. I have DraftKings pulling it up right now, but
just jump in quickly, Andrew. Just one thing about Tuch. There's one concern. This is what it would be. You look at the last six games. He's gone over 2 shots on goal once.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he's been slow. But that's what I'm saying. If there's ever a game, if we do want to buy into these factors and these theories, I mean, if there's ever a game to get it going, this could be it. But, it would kind of suck to take Tuch and then Tage Thompson goes out and puts up 5 shots again. You know what I mean? What I wanted to mention was the save prop for Laurent Brossoit at 25.5, Ian. I'm going over 25.5. One of my favorite props of the night. Buffalo at home, I expect lots of shots from them. Like I mentioned, I'll be on some shots on goal props for Buffalo players. I'll be on the save. I'll be on the save props for Bressois. I think there's going to be lots of shots in this game. I think it's going to be a back and forth one. Do I think the over is going to hit? I think I'm just going to go with the props because I don't know how these goalies are going to perform, but I do believe it's going to be one of those games where the players don't try and be too cute and too fancy. They try and get pucks on net, and they're cycling lines. When I look at this game, though, part of me wanted to look at actually a Buffalo Sabres first period money line. I was thinking this game actually could be a good start for Buffalo, get on the board, potentially even, again, more and more books are offering these. So if you can get it, the over 0.5 team total goals in the first period would be something I would like to recommend as well. But I think we could see Buffalo get off to a good start, maybe even a first period over in this game. And then I do envision this game slowing down and tightening up, But as for right now, for everybody, those are the two plays I like in this game here. I wanted to make sure I got that number right. But Laurent Bressois, his over save prop for tonight, and Alex Tuch, this is the night I believe he bounces back out of the shots on goal slump here. And I'll be watching this game, and I'll tell you what, Ian, I'm sure you can agree with me. It's kind of funny when you watch a game sometimes and you don't have a play on the side or a total. You're that guy's on the ice. All right, cheering for some shots. It's kind of it's a funny different dynamic when you're watching the game. But you just read off those stats there about Tuch, and hopefully tonight's the night he gets back on track for me.
If ever there's a night to maybe would it be proactive? Because there's nothing that would indicate he's going to get 3 shots tonight lately. One time he's done it in the last 6 games, but
yeah,
obviously facing his former mates in Vegas tonight, and you would expect him to be active at least, and to steal a basketball phrase, volume shooter, maybe potentially tonight. We'll see about that. Yeah, first period, both teams to score is because I could see a lot of energy early. That's not a bad thought, Raymond, this first period. And you're going to get, because you get better prices and better odds with the first period, both teams to score, when it's a game with a bigger favorite versus a bigger underdog. When it's a, pick 'em line or a even money price line, you're not going to get as good price with the first period, both teams to score. In this game, you actually will get a pretty solid price with that. Vegas and the Buffalo, both teams to score. Instead of plus 130, plus 140, you'll get upwards of plus 160. So I don't mind that. I might sprinkle on that as well. For Buffalo, it's Okposo. I mentioned Tuch already, and Krebs are worth a look, but especially the guys that have been producing lately for them have been Okposo. Okposo keeps being priced at plus 300 to score a goal every game for this Sabres team. And you look at what he's done. He's scored in 3 of their last 5 games. He's scored in 6 of their last 10 games, and you can get plus 3. See, think about that. 6 of their last 10 games, he's scored at 60% the last 10 games. Okposo's found the back of the net. He's plus 350. I even see plus 400. These have been the goal scorer props that I have found that have been coming through for me. Like, look at last night with Yamamoto, underpriced because he was like a 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 with a goal in the last little bit. And you could have gotten him plus 300. He scored for the Oilers. Arturi Lehkonen last night for Montreal, who had a big night for them, plus 425. He's a guy that had scored even just 4 or 5 of the last 10 games, but he's plus 450, and you're seeing he's getting the chances. So those are the kind of props that I zone in on, those bargain prices, and they've been going well. So there's a few I like there in that Vegas Buffalo game. All right, next up we got Arizona Toronto. The Leafs minus 360, home favorites 6.5 the total. This could be the Montreal experiment tonight for me, but with Arizona. And you know what that experiment has been. Now, last night it wasn't perfect. I didn't like seeing, obviously, Montreal give up the empty net goal, which cost the plus 1.5 on the puck line against Vancouver last night. Was not thrilled to see that. But still, with that 7-play experiment, which that I did with Montreal Edmonton, and I went 7-0 in that game with those 7 plays in the Habs Oilers game. I went 4-2-1 last night with those 7 plays in the Canadiens Canucks game, where it was Montreal first period team total over, Montreal first period puck line, Montreal first period money line, Montreal full game team total over, Montreal full game puck line, Montreal full game money line, and the full game over. That's what I went with in that Montreal-Vancouver game. 4-2-1, Andrew, profit.
Yes,
people are going to laugh and say, what are you doing, man? At 4-2-1 at the end of the game last night. I'll take it. And
well, Ian, I had first period over. I had full game over 6. I had in-game over 5.5, in-game over 6.5. So hey, I'll make you feel more comfortable by telling you I did something very similar just with the total. So,
Yeah.
and it was good. So
Absolutely. I think we have a live underdog here again, and I'm going to just instead of one bet, I'm going to have smaller bets, 7 different fashions here, just like the last game, last night. It's going to be for me the same thing. I'm going to the exact same thing tonight because Arizona's got offensive confidence right now. What have they scored? 17 goals in the last 2 games, Ottawa and Detroit. And look, Toronto's a step up, but are they that much of a step up defensively based on what we've seen from the Leafs lately? Not at the moment. I think when they're at their best, they can be a very good defensive team, but we're not getting their best defensive game right now. And you would think they're going to level off at some point goal scoring wise, but they've got confidence at the moment. And the Leafs are going to keep giving you these open lanes and these open paths to the net. And now, of course, comes the big news that he just gets some confidence in a big victory the other night against Seattle, that Jack Campbell now is out for 2 weeks with a rib injury, and he's sidelined now, which means Peter Mrazek time once again in net for the Leafs. And look, he was actually very good at times in the third period to make that lead stand up against Columbus, a couple nights ago, and he had to be. But I think Arizona, with what we're seeing from Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller and Jacob Chychrun right now, chipping in from the blue line. I think what we're seeing from Lawson Krause has stepped up. You're getting Nick Ritchie and depth scoring all of a sudden for Arizona.
yeah.
Things are going good offensively when you're seeing
Nick Ritchie revenge game.
Yeah. Hey, scored the last game. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm going to bet that freaking thing. What is that price? It's just a small one. I mean, he did score the last game, and look, he knows Toronto, dumped him. It's essentially it. Ended the relationship with him essentially. So
it might be a good prop, actually, if your book offers it. Nick Ritchie over hits.
Yep.
That could be, there's the prop world is just insane right now, but
yes,
that's what comes to my mind, Ian. Nick Ritchie over hits. Why would he not want to finish his checks against this team?
Exactly. No, 100% right. I mean, team let him go and said, "Hey, you're not cutting it here." I think I don't think he's like facing bitter feelings. He knows he's up against it. It's a deep forward group for Toronto. And look, he couldn't cut the mustard. Simple as that. I mean, he can't skate with Mikheyev. He can't skate with some of these other guys. The Bunting was a big addition that's, taken a lot of opportunities away from people. Mikheyev stepped up and good for them. They want this Nick Robertson kid in the lineup because he's got more finish and speed and talent and skill than a Nick Ritchie. And Nick Ritchie's left in the cold. It's just the way it is. I don't think he can feel, oh, you guys gave up on me. No, you're a victim of the numbers game.
Yeah.
A Toronto team that's absolutely loaded up front.
I will say, though, come playoff time, Nick Robertson has no spot on that team, in my opinion, because they don't lack speed. They lack toughness.
Yeah.
Nothing will change with the Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers if they aren't tough. The Oilers losing to the Jets last year was not because of skill. It was not because they lacked skill. That's for sure. It was because they got outmanned as far as toughness goes.
Yep.
So I don't know. Nick Ritchie, he's one of those guys that, hey, I think come second game of the first round, they might say, geez, I wish we had someone a little more aggressive on our team.
Yeah, definitely. And Scott Wedgwood, by the way, in the net for Arizona, which I think Toronto might be able to score because Wedgwood gave up 5 in his last start against Ottawa. Keep that in mind. And Arizona for a while too, and they only gave up 2 against Detroit. But part of the reason why they both basically for the last several games before the last 2, Arizona is one of those teams where their expected goals for were higher than they've been scoring. So they should have scored more, and they finally are. But they also should have been giving up more goals than they had to that point, and they're starting to give up more goals too. 5 against Ottawa. Now only 2 against Detroit, but we're not stupid here. We believe the Leafs are going to light the lamp tonight. You would think that here in this game against Arizona. So this looks like goal fest to me, but I think Arizona's got a chance, kind of like the Seattle game, hopefully with a little better result. Because Seattle didn't win the game, but Seattle hung around right through to the end, and I think Arizona's got that potential to do it here in this game as well. So for me, this is first period plus a half, minus 110 puck line, a little sprinkle plus 220 money line, first period team total over with Arizona, which you can get at minus 130, and then, of course, same with the full game, team total over 2.5, full game puck line plus 1.5 at plus 140, by the way, nice price with that. A little sprinkle on the full game money line in the plus 300 range, and the full game over 6.5 minus 125. So there you go. Same 7 bets as last night with Montreal and Vancouver, and Montreal and Edmonton for that matter. The 2 dregs of the NHL for the most of the season, and here we go. We're finding value on them. And why are we finding value on them? Because they're playing their best hockey, and the betting markets don't adjust at this time of year to teams playing better hockey. Andrew, what do you think here, Arizona, Toronto?
Well, I think that realistically, we expect to see some type of dominant victory come at some point for the Maple Leafs. At some point. And when I did my buy and sell segment at the start of the week and I talked about the Leafs, I mentioned their schedule, right? Started with Columbus, then you go through Seattle, and here you are with the Coyotes. An opportunity to have several games where you think you'd get a win with ease. And I know that this is a team that has their win, 2 wins this week, right? So if you're on that team, the question you ask yourself is a win, or do you not like how you're winning? Right. And that's really the issue, is because if you looked at the win-loss records, this team's playing all right recently. You look at how they've won, allowing a goal in the final 2-3 minutes, back-to-back games. That type of stuff isn't really acceptable. You look at now Jack Campbell, he's on the injury reserve. This stuff isn't really good for that team. Arizona, though, they're riding the high, but guess what? Guess who they scored those goals against? The Red Wings. We all had fun cashing tickets in some way, shape, or form on Arizona in that one. Just not sure we get that tonight. So I'm actually going to look the other way and take the Maple Leafs first period puck line at a pretty good price. So shop around on that one. I think the Leafs get off to a good start here and honestly don't look back. So I'm not getting bold with the dogs today with the Coyotes. We'll see what happens. The Leafs aren't a team that I want to rely on in third periods. So I'm going to rely on them in a first period to get on the board, because they have had good starts to games, Ian. If you notice, they've kind of like been the opposite of the Oilers, where they're having great starts to games and not finishes, whereas the Oilers are one of the last place teams in the league in first period goals. So I expect the first period to be the Maple Leafs' best period tonight.
All right, liking a good start, which is very possible. They had a great start early in that game against Seattle on Tuesday night, and a good start against Columbus as well. And then the last 2 periods were a little bit problematic. This is always dangerous, though, because the one thing about Wedgwood, who's actually been very good lately until the Ottawa game, kind of crumbled a little bit. 5 goals, but they bailed them out. They scored 8. I get your point. Who said that in the chat? I get it. Brent Norris. There you go. I get it. Arizona's not going to score 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals now every game. The rest, no way. There's going to be a leveling off. They still aren't a great offensive team, and they will have struggles against scoring. But you can throw out that Arizona is going to regress, but you can also throw out that Toronto's defense is struggling right now. And this may not be the night for Arizona's offense to regress. So that's what you can look at here in this game. But Scott Wedgwood is another one of these goalies here playing in front of close to home. He's a Brampton kid, which is, of course, just north of Toronto. So, you always get fired up to play the Leafs when you're a Toronto boy or you're someone that's close to home. So we'll see if Wedgwood brings it tonight. Wouldn't surprise me if he plays well. He has played well at times lately. Let's not forget that LA game. I remember it. LA won the game still 3-2. Man alive. It's 6-2, 7-2, if not for the play of Wedgwood in that game that night. So interesting to see how that one goes for sure. All right, next up, Colorado, Carolina. Is this a Stanley Cup Finals preview? Very possibly it is. Colorado, we got minus 125 road favorites here, 6.5 the total in this one. Man, this is an interesting one. I actually think the value's on Carolina, to be quite honest. I'm not saying I'm going to bet Carolina for sure, but I'm leaning in that direction. I mean, you're talking about a home team that is 21-6 as a slight home dog now, which tells you how powerful the Avalanche are in the betting markets and what people think of Colorado right now. But Colorado's coming off a 5-3 loss to New Jersey. I'm going to poke some holes in what I'm seeing from them. Their penalty kill's terrible right now, all of a sudden. They've given up 5 power play goals in the last 3 games. That can't be sitting well with Nate McKinnon, Jared Bednar, the head coach, or anybody. That's just not very good in terms of the penalty killing lately. Whereas Carolina, they've been top penalty kill all season long, although they've given up 4 power play goals their last 4 games. So even their penalty kill has been hit a little bit lately. Carolina, back-to-back wins for them. Pittsburgh, Seattle after a 2-game losing streak. Back home here against the Colorado Avalanche. This is the first, by the way, of 2 meetings this year. They'll play again later in Denver. Very interesting stat. Unders in this series have been insanely good. I don't know if that translates to tonight. You have to remember 2 years ago was the last time these teams played each other. It's been a while. But 9-1-1 to the under in the last 11 head-to-head meetings with Colorado and Carolina. And to me, this is a game where it could go either way from a totals perspective. And default for me right now in the NHL with the overpalooza the last several days is over or pass in every game. I'm not looking at an under, but I'm saying this game could stay under. It also could be a 5-3 because we know they're very capable offensively. So I think there's a lot of volatility tonight when it comes to the total for this one. I will say Colorado's gone over in 3 straight. The defense and the penalty killing and the goaltending, all of it's kind of struggled. They gave up 5 to Calgary, 4 to the Islanders, who aren't an offensive machine by any stretch, and then coughing up the lead and losing on the betcast when we were on the air the other night, 5-3 to New Jersey. So there's issues right now with Colorado. I'm kind of leaning Carolina here in this game. Yes, Freddie Anderson obviously remains out for the Hurricanes at the moment, day-to-day, not playing tonight, not starting tonight. It'll be Antti Raanta for the Carolina Hurricanes against Darcy Kemper for Colorado. But look, he's been pretty good the last couple starts, the Finn, Antti Raanta. 2 goals allowed in victories against Seattle and Pittsburgh. We'll see if he can keep it going here. I lean Carolina here. It'll probably make my betting card at some point, but we'll see where the price goes. Even if it stays where it is and I can get a plus number on this Canes team, I don't know. Colorado's game in the back end right now is kind of worrying me a little bit. What do you think here? Showdown City tonight, Andrew. Colorado, Carolina.
It gets me excited, man, because I think about that 14-1 ticket I have on the Canes, and oh man, I'd love to see them make it all the way and end up in this matchup here. It'd be it'd be a dream. But Colorado, look, they're probably pissed off. They're probably angry, but they're minus 125. The home team to me is the spot here. The Avalanche, keep in mind, have played a shit ton of games recently, and a lot of them have been very competitive. That has to be a situational play that we think of and we take into account. And what have I been saying the past little while here that you and I used to always discuss together? These big games nowadays go over. You mentioned the season, the history with these 2 clubs. I get it. But I wouldn't go anywhere but over between these 2 clubs here. Expecting, both teams' scorers to put on a show. But, the old expression also, defense wins championships, and Carolina plays better defensively, and I trust their goaltending better right now. So at home, better situational spot for them schedule-wise, and defensively trust them a lot better. I'm going to have to go ahead here and take Carolina. I will say, watch out for the Cale Makar shots on goal props. The guy gets more shots on goal than half his forwards do. Also, I'm going back to the well, Ian, one more time here with Mikko Rantanen. Over 3.5 shots on goal. He let me down last game, brother. He only had 1 shot, but I'm going back to the well with him tonight. There was some power play. There were some penalty issues last game for them, and he was passing the puck around a lot, but I think this game will get there, and I'm going to look at his over tonight.
Reminds me of that Chainsmokers song a few years ago. Don't let me down.
Yeah,
don't let me down. Mikko Rantanen. Don't let me down. Don't let Andrew down, Mikko. Mikko Rantanen is right. He missed the shots on goal prop the other night in that game against the Devils. So we'll see if and before that he was actually very good with the shots on goal numbers for the most part.
I know. So I joined the train at the wrong time. I hopped on board and
exactly just like a buddy of mine who said. Just like, same with my buddy last night who jumped on Montreal last night against Vancouver, saying, I keep hearing that you've been betting these guys and winning with them the last several games. And I'm like, I just hope and I told him before the game started, I just hope you're not late to the party. Sure enough, 5-3 Vancouver.
Well, that's kind of, remember the argument I've been making for people is that, like, what happens? Again, their team total hits. You mentioned it earlier about all the different bets you're making. When you're betting these dogs, don't hold yourself to just one bet. Don't try and, but this is the problem, Ian. Everybody's obsessed with that big cash, right? They want to tell their friends they hit a plus 250, right? Yep. I'd rather tell someone I hit a minus 110 that I actually won on a team total over, you know? Same thing with that Coyotes the other night. I mean, Do you think that I was sitting there mad at myself for not taking the money line? No, I watched my team total cash in the first period. That's all I cared about.
Yeah. That's just getting greedy. I mean,
Yeah.
you're bet one. It's almost like you're bet one, guy. Shut the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
It's like, gee,
Yeah.
what are you complaining for? You won your bet. You got out of that game plus money, profitable. Yeah, I'm happy. That should be happy. You're always just, oh, but it could add the plus price on the money line. Yeah, I've even got to tell myself not to act like that sometimes. Just be
We all
happy
do it
with the result.
instinctually.
Yeah.
It's in your heart, you know.
Yeah, it's an instinct thing for sure. Seattle and Ottawa, is there going to be an instinct for one of these teams to win a hockey game? They've obviously had their ups and downs this year. Seattle and Ottawa.
I don't think so. It's going to be a draw.
Yeah, Senators minus 140, home favorites 5.5. This is one of those games where Ottawa's really up and down. Like they could get ripped by Arizona like they did, and they come back and look what they did against St. Louis the other night. Really strong road win, 4-1 against the Blues. Really all over the map. But the one thing I know about Ottawa, Andrew, is, and I'm starting to notice this a lot with them, they play their best against the best. The St. Louis's and the Carolinas and Tampa's and Florida's, Toronto even, like all of these teams seem to get Ottawa's best game and best effort. Then when they play the Sisters of the Poor in the National Hockey League, it looks like it's not quite the same for Ottawa. Like they get drubbed by Arizona, and they're down like 5-1 early in that game. And this kind of feels that way. And let's give Seattle some credit. The team's fighting. Like if you watch any Seattle game right now, the compete is there, the effort's there. Yeah, there's parts of their game that are still screwed up. Yes.
Where was that since day one, though, Ian?
Yeah, exactly. Grubauer's been a little bit better lately. They've started to score. They've actually started to find the back of the net with a little bit more regularity. And offense, to be quite honest with you, was a huge problem for them. Oh, by the way, Calle Yarncroke, bet him tonight to score for Seattle. This guy all of a sudden is like plus 350, plus 400 most games to score a goal. And he's now scored in multiple games recently. Calle Yarncroke. We're going back to Calle Yarncroke, not Calle Cali, Calle Calle, Yarncroke for Seattle tonight to score a goal. I think that is the bargain bin prop goal scorer wise tonight in this game for the Seattle Kraken. And I lean to the Kraken. I don't know if I'll bet it. I don't, because it's push comes to shove. Do I trust the team to pull out a win? I don't know. But in a game like this, where I think it's a flip a coin kind of game, you bet the underdog as far as I'm concerned. So lean Seattle here. What do you think, Andrew? Seattle, Ottawa.
I'm sorry. Yeah, real quick. I forgot to mention this in the Toronto game.
Yep.
Nick Schmaltz to get a point. It's something I've bet, and I was just going through my bets for today.
Yes, and to score a goal. Of course. I forgot it too. Yes,
so he's someone that we have to have our eyes on. And after just talking a few moments ago with you about how I'm not itching for these big plus money prices, I just want to find some spots. Well, this is a spot that I found, and I locked it in at minus 110 or 15. So that's one that I'm on, and you're on it to score. Let's get it done, brother. But that's it's one that I really like quite a bit here.
Yeah, Nick Schmaltz is ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely. He's ridiculous right now. Points, goals. He's scoring too, finding the back of the net. So that's a great player to take with props right now. All right, Seattle, Ottawa.
And Twitter was really funny after that game too. People were like, "This guy really wants to leave that team." I'm on the over 5.5. I was shocked that this was 5.5 here. Seattle, obviously on their road trip. I love when I see a team after they've played Toronto, regardless of what the score in that game is. Your game's going to be a little bit easier, hopefully, than it was the previous. Toronto's obviously a great team. They allow goals, but they're still a really great team. And the Ottawa Senators, well, it's kind of like you mentioned it. And if you remember, I mentioned the exact same thing in a few weeks back to you. This team, they live for the upset. But when you give them a crappy team to play against, they're like, well, why the hell should I show up to this game? And this, to me, just has that recipe of disaster tonight at the Canadian Tire Center. I think we're going to just see a bunch of goals here. 5.5 to me is a joke. I think it's a spot that we can't ignore here. And I'm going to look at the Jared McCann shots on goal prop as well. I think that I looked at it last game. He didn't really come through, but he signed that big contract. He's someone that does shoot a lot for this team. So those are two plays I like, over 5.5 and Jared McCann shots on goal prop.
All right, there we go. Jared McCann and overshots in that. All right, Flyers and Panthers. Panthers minus 370, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. Wow, this Florida team, I give them credit. That was a That was a good performance in Pittsburgh on a back-to-back, no less, as well. And great performance by them. And obviously, they had a little bit of a swoon there briefly. 2 games against Minnesota and Edmonton. Against Edmonton and Columbus and Nashville. They lost 3 in a row. Florida, and now they've ripped off 4 straight wins. They've scored 3-6, 6-4 in those games. Now they'll take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Man, this is an interesting test for Florida simply because Carter Hart was phenomenal against Vegas. And look, he's going to have to be just that, if not even better tonight, with how the Florida Panthers can absolutely light you up offensively right now. And when you look at head-to-head series history, though, this year, in Philly, Florida won 4-2. And then, of course, the return match in November, Florida won 2-1, and both games stayed under. So, with Carter Hart playing well, and he has been better, certainly the last couple. Now he's got to go to Florida. We have noticed the home road split just a little bit with him. I will point that out. But, you look at 3 of the last 4 games, he's actually played well. 1 goal allowed to Vegas, 2 goals allowed to Edmonton, 1 goal allowed to Washington. However, the one bad start in those last 4 starts, Minnesota gave up 5, and that's a comparable offense to Florida. And key word comparable. Florida's still a better offense than Minnesota, and he gave up 5 to Minnesota. So big test for Carter Hart, big test for this Flyers defense. I don't know if I'm ready to trust them to be up. They're playing better. They're playing hard. I mean, the one thing you're going to do if you take Philly here tonight at plus 290, and I'm not advising you to do that, but if you do that, you're getting a team that's given it right now and an effort and a hard level of compete and a try and a give a damn. Philadelphia gives a damn right now. They are playing much better, more competitively. I think they've had points in 9 of their last 12 games or something like that. So this is no cakewalk necessarily for the Panthers. But this one I'm back and forth. I'm wishy-washy on this game. I'll be quite honest with you. I would have liked maybe a 3.5 on the team total with Florida, not 4.5, which is what we're seeing here. So it's probably, as of right now, a stay away, other than maybe look at Barkov over 1.5 points again, which has been automatic, or Marchment to score. Those would be my favorite props in this game. Andrew, what do you think? Flyers, Panthers?
Yeah, nothing for me. And I actually have Zilch on this game.
All right, nothing wrong with that. We move on to Minnesota, Detroit. Minnesota minus 170, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I'll tell you what, I'd be weary of this game if you're Minnesota tonight, just a little bit. I mean, yeah, you got back on track. You beat the Rangers. But we did mention it was Georgiev, surprise starter that night, that maybe there was their chance to light the lamp, find their way to a victory. They did that. Now they're going to play a Detroit team that they're better than 9-2 to Arizona. And look, I had Arizona simply because I thought the price was too high. I didn't think they're going to go in there and win 9-2. I mean, that was just an absolute embarrassment for the Detroit Red Wings, a complete and utter debacle for 60 minutes defensively in that game. You got to think there's some semblance of we need to make amends for that. They actually are still a pretty decent home team this year at Little Caesars Arena. And say what you will about the Wild, there's still some level of vulnerability with this team. They got a much needed win against the Rangers, but you have to factor in, you're talking about not having avoiding Shesterkin was a big component of that. In my mind, winning that hockey game for the Minnesota Wild. So this is going to be dangerous here for the Wild tonight in this game. This is another one where I'd only look over 6.5 in this one. Detroit, you've got to think, is going to try to be much tighter defensively. But I remember the last time Detroit played Minnesota in Minnesota, the game flew over the total and they couldn't stop Minnesota. And Minnesota gave up a bunch of goals to Detroit. And I don't know if things change here. Detroit's going to talk about playing better and tightening up and getting better goaltending, but we have not seen this consistently. We've seen people hang 9 and 10 spots in their building lately against this Red Wings team. Arizona, Toronto, of course, on that crazy Saturday night game about 10 days ago. So I could only look over this total here, 6.5. It looks like, by the way, it's going to be a goaltending matchup of, in this one here, Talbot for the Wild confirmed. Nedeljkovic, I would think he's going to be in. He got pulled, of course, in that Arizona game. I do kind of like Detroit, though, here in the first period, at least. At least in the first 20 minutes to just come out and guns blazing, both teams to score in the first period. DX Filer makes sense too, plus 150. But for Detroit to get on the board, maybe their team total as well over Detroit in the first period. Trust them maybe to have a good start, trust them to be a team that's going to be pissed off and totally ashamed with the way they played the other night, 9-2 to Arizona. We know there's a Detroit team that's better than that. Now, are they good enough to beat Minnesota, a good Wild team at home, albeit struggling lately? I think they can compete tonight, and I think you'll get their best early in the game. So I kind of lean full game. Maybe I'll sprinkle small on that, but I think the first period's an even better target. Detroit to score a goal, and maybe Detroit money line as well. Or if you want to be safe, you could go +0.5 Detroit in the first period of this game as well. By the way, the Red Wings team total for this one, it's a little high. I got to admit, -165 to score a goal in the first period. That's a little high. I might pull back the reins on the team total in the first period for Detroit. But I think they come out strong early. What do you think here, Andrew? Minnesota, Detroit?
Well, I think it's a really interesting game because, you look at what Detroit's given up lately. What have they done recently that's made us want to bet them? That's the problem. But what has Minnesota done consistently that's made them deserve to be -180 here? And that's really the issue we have here. But if there's a team that I would count on more to get it going and pick up after a win versus a team to snap out of whatever the hell's going on, I'll take the Minnesota side to get some traction versus Detroit to snap out of what's going on. If that makes any sense, clearly it's built into the number here. But the way I'm going to look here, I understand it's not the best price, but it's decent here. This is just one of those games, Ian, where I take Detroit out of the picture. And I have a hard time explaining to people why I choose my team total games. But this is just one of those ones where I'm selecting Minnesota team total over 3.5 as a play I do like for today. Just to not have to worry about what Detroit does in this game. Just to worry about the Minnesota Wild continuing and picking up where they left off in their last game and hopefully keep scoring. So that's all I'm looking at for this game, Ian.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Oh, by the way, goal scorer props. I got some for a game like this where we should see, I think, some action. Robbie Fabry, I'm telling you, +280 again for him to score a goal. He's on fire right now for Detroit. Raymond, you always can look at Larkin. For Minnesota, Ryan Hartman, how do you not take him at the moment? Fiala got going the other night. So those are a bunch of candidates for me, goal scorer props tonight in this game. If you want to be really, really adventurous, for Detroit, Carter Rowney scored in 2 of the last 10, but more importantly, he scored in 2 of the last 5 games, and he's +800. Carter Rowney. How about that? How about that? Thanks to my little software I'm using now for props. Man, you can
I checked it out. It's good.
Yeah, you can. It's really good. And look, we're picking off some of these bargain bins, and some of these are coming in. And if you saw on the BetCast the other night, even last night, we had a couple of +300, +400 goal scorer props coming through with Yamamoto and Lehkonen. So, I mean, these are worth looking at. You only put $5-10 on it even. And boy, if it hits, there you go. What a boost it provides. So there's definitely a bunch that you can look at.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to hit them all to come out profitable, especially when you're hitting guys like Arturi Lehkonen. Real quick about him, Ian, I don't even want him to get traded anymore because I don't think what we'll get back in return will be nearly what he's worth. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
Armia is a big body, but I think we signed the wrong Finnish player last year. Just my opinion, but I think Armia is more replaceable maybe than Lehkonen is.
Oh, he's definitely been more noticeable lately. There's no question about that with what we've seen from Lehkonen, no doubt. Winnipeg, New Jersey. New Jersey -130 home favorites. This total, believe it or not, yesterday afternoon or early evening and into the overnight, this was over 6 -120 at one point. So it obviously moved to 6.5. It's blown through all the 6.5s now, and we're seeing 7 in this game. And look, I didn't even get the 6 when I bet it was overnight. And I said, this is probably going to move even more. It was 6.5 -110. I didn't think it would move all the way to 7 in every book, but it pretty much has. I don't see a 6.5 anywhere on this total. And look, I agree with it fully. I mean, the Jets defense is just a shit show right now. And I know they beat Tampa, but that's because they scored a bunch. And this is 2 teams that I trust them to score, and I don't trust them to keep it out at this point in time. Although New Jersey has found a little goaltending stability with Nico Daws. Like, Nico Daws is not going to be the next Marty Brodeur for the New Jersey Devils, but what he can be is a decent NHL goalie, I think. I think we found that out. He can be decent for the Devils. He's better than Gillies. He's better than anybody else that's played for them this year. But still, I like the confidence that Winnipeg should have offensively going into this game, and I still think they can chip away and find some goals. Maybe a little defensive letdown for New Jersey after a massive upset over Colorado the other night. And on the flip side, you've got New Jersey, and you know how much I've liked them offensively. I just love the way this team is, just producing up and down the lineup. Everybody's chipping in. Dawson Mercer and Sharon Govich and Thomas Tatar comes out of nowhere and scores the other night. And Zaka and, of course, Hughes and Bratt have been magnificent. So this is one of those games you really target props. I like over 6.5. Now at 7, I'd pump the brakes a little. I mean, you miss 6, you miss 6.5. It's hard to say, yeah, I bet 7 now, but I don't want the under in this game. Andrew, what do you think? Jets Devils.
I just have a funny feeling, and I know people might laugh because this isn't something you should use in your handicapping. I like the Winnipeg Jets tonight. They were a sell for me for a long time. They still kind of are for me. Yeah. But let's be honest here. I mean, we keep talking about, and hats off to you for this, the bets you've made with this team total. We keep discussing the amount of goals the Devils are scoring, but we got to hit it home how many goals they're allowing as well. We really have to. I mean, the Devils are going to be a great team in the future. They've got great young players, a great young goaltender. But Winnipeg just is fresh off a game against Tampa where they scored 7 goals. And that's not, to me, a letdown now against New Jersey. That's let's get some damn confidence together and get going here. And that's kind of what I see. I mean, their offense is capable. It hasn't been there the past few weeks. And I just think something's up here with this game for New Jersey. They've moved a little bit to 120, 130. I just have a feeling, Ian, in this game, after looking at what New Jersey's done recently, coming off that game against Colorado, something tells me Winnipeg wins tonight. And I think they have a good shot to do so.
There we go. You know what? I like that confidence angle. You're on a losing streak, and they need the points. Like, there's no letdown. How can there be a letdown when you need every point you can get right now if you're the Winnipeg Jets? So I understand the thought process. And look, I like the Devils when they're decent-sized dogs. I like them in these kind of spots. Now they're favored. Let's see how they handle that tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. But I still like the Devils, one more go-around maybe with the team total split tonight for me with New Jersey, because it is going to be Eric Comrie, by the way, in net for the Jets. Although that being said, it's not like they're going to totally miss Connor Hellebuck as much as normal. That guy is struggling at the moment for the Jets, but it will be Comrie. The Devils, scoring in the first period and over, their team total is still probably worth a shot for me. But more than anything, the full game, because I do think Winnipeg's going to be able to chip in offensively here tonight as well. In this game. Andrew, how much time do you have? Because I think you got to leave soon. Is that true?
I had an out at 3 Eastern-ish, but I can manage a couple more minutes. But just
okay.
I have somewhere I have to be.
No, that's all right.
I might end up speeding.
No, it's all right. It's all good. We appreciate you hanging in there today. No question. All right, we'll do one more game. And then after that, you can rhyme off the last 4 games after that. What you like. But
to be honest with you, the games we've already discussed are the ones that I have the most opinion on anyway. Like Blue Jackets, Islanders, I have nothing on. Ducks, Predators, I have no plays on. So
there you go. All right, so we're going to go through a little bit of the games that aren't as appealing. But we'll do Jackets and Islanders, and then we'll let you rhyme off the rest of the plays and best bet, and we'll get you out of here. Columbus and Islanders. Islanders minus 170, home favorites, 5.5, 6 the total. In this game here with the Jackets and the Islanders. I like Columbus here. I'll be quite honest. I'm going to take my chance with them. It's just the Islanders, whenever they're favored by this kind of price, I like going the other way. I just do. And that's what I'm going to do here. And Columbus is, not playing their best hockey right now. They've kind of gone through their little hot streak a little while ago, and it's been a lot more difficult for them in recent games. This is just a price that Islanders minus 175, and I've had some success picking off underdogs against the New York Islanders when they've been favored by these kind of prices. They have not been good as bigger favorites at times. And look, they've seen their defense and their goaltending struggle. Varlamov and Sorokin, they go back. Barry's going back and forth. Now it's going to be Sorokin tonight. What do we get is the big question here from Jonas Korpisalo for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's starting tonight. He hasn't played since January 31st because of a lower body injury. There's going to probably be some rust. We'll see. And his numbers aren't great. 3.82 goals against, 887 save percentage in this game. But boy, I can see If you can find, there's a couple of books that have it juiced at 5.5, minus 140. I'd lean to that over at 5.5, to be quite honest, even though it's the Islanders here. The Islanders have actually gone over the total, Andrew, in 6 of their last 8 games. They're 6-2 to the over their last 8 games. We know Columbus is an offensive machine. I like that over as well, and give me a shot with the Jackets in this game as an underdog.
Yeah, the Islanders have been sneaky with their that. If I was playing this game, Ian, that's where I'd go to, is the over. In Columbus, we know what kind of hockey they've been playing recently, very fast, which also leaves them exposed on their own end as well. Counterattacks and so on and so forth. So yeah, if I was playing this game, I'd look over 6 as well. I think it's really important. This is why we always say in handicapping to do a "what have you done for me lately" check. Teams like Dallas, teams like New York, even teams like Winnipeg. They used to be dead not unders. Not really anymore as much.
No, you're 100% right about that. There's been Islanders have that's part of the problem. We know offensively they've had their issues for years, but they could always rely on the team defense, the structure, sound in their own zone, no turnovers, no mistakes, nobody out of position. This year it's been turnovers. This year it's been at people out of position in their own zone, letting free path to the net to the opponent. That's not been good, obviously, for the New York Islanders. All right, Andrew, I'll just rhyme them off quickly. Rangers, Blues, Ducks, Predators, the big showdown. We got one big showdown, which could be a Stanley Cup final preview. I guess you could say this one could be as well. Tampa Bay, Calgary, and San Jose, Los Angeles. Those 4 remaining games, Andrew. The floor is yours.
I like the Flames. I have not much of an opinion on the Sharks game. I'd lean towards the over. Don't trust the Sharks defense, and I think I think they could catch the Kings being flat. So I lean towards the over in that game. I haven't bet that one. I like the Flames and Rangers Blues. It's a tough one, but I do like the road team in that game. So I haven't gone to the window with that one, but that's kind of where I'd look. I have gone to the window with the Flames tonight. Always tough fading the back-to-back Cup champs, but tonight I'm doing it.
All right, yeah, and I'll save my opinion for that till I get there. We won't spoil it, but
all right,
yeah.
Adios.
All right, Andrew, best bet.
Oh, best bet.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the Ottawa over. Over. Yeah, I think that's gonna have a lot of goals, and I was shocked that was 5.5, especially with Seattle on that road trip there. So it's something I look towards, and same thing with Ottawa back at home here. So situationally, it's a good spot for them, and I think we'll get some goals here.
All right, Seattle, Ottawa, over 5.5. Best bet for Andrew McInnis. Release the Kraken, release the goals tonight in the nation's capital. That's what he's open for. All right, Andrew, great stuff.
Guys.
Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow. There he is, Andrew McInnis, with us. He's got to go to an appointment. So it's you and I for the rest of the show here, and we'll get you my take here on these last 4 games. We'll start with the New York Rangers and the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis minus 120, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Boy, I thought the Blues were sitting in a good spot, good situation on Tuesday night against Ottawa. The road trip didn't end well for them. They needed a win to try to bounce back and get the ship righted. And to see them play the way they did, I got to admit, disappointing, disheartening to see that from the St. Louis Blues. 4-1 home loss here to the Ottawa Senators. It just wasn't very good from them in that hockey game. So we'll see how it goes for them here as they try to bounce back at home against this New York Rangers team, which is not going to be easy, obviously, considering what we're seeing from the Rangers, considering what we're seeing with the Rangers with Igor Shesterkin, I should say, in net. That's usually when we see the Rangers at their absolute best. Shockingly, and I still don't understand fully why he was not in the net the other night against Minnesota. That wasn't a back-to-back spot for the New York Rangers, and yet we still didn't see Igor Shesterkin in between the pipes that night. But it will be Shesterkin here tonight in this game for the Rangers. Ville Husso in net for the St. Louis Blues. And Husso, by the way, has not been quite as sharp lately. Still been probably the preferred goalie for Craig Berube compared to Jordan Binnington, who, of course, wasn't terrible against Ottawa, but he didn't really stand out and make that massive save when you really needed a big save in that game either the other night against the Ottawa Senators. So definitely they've got a little bit of a crisis here, a little bit of an issue in terms of where's their offense gone. That's a problem. I mean, the Blues offense has just been turned off here the last few games like a water tap, like a water faucet. 1 goal against the Islanders. just 2 against New Jersey in an overtime loss to end that road trip, and then just held to 1 goal against Ottawa the other night during this 4-game skid. Andrew liked the Rangers. I like the Rangers. I do. I mean, you're going to give me the Rangers who you can trust a little bit more. Look at some of these numbers, by the way, for the Rangers that point to them probably playing better. Obviously, they had the loss to Minnesota the other night with Georgiev in net 5-2 to the Wild. They're 17-5 in their last 22 games when their opponent scores 2 goals or less in their previous game. And of course, that's St. Louis. The Rangers are 5-1 in their last 6 games after allowing 5 goals or more in their previous game. And the Rangers are a perfect 6-0 this year in their last 6 games when they've lost by 3 goals or more in their previous game. I mean, these are all things that point to the Rangers. Rangers beat the Blues recently in New York. So, yes, revenge for St. Louis. But, I need a team in better form. 4 straight losses. The Rangers here getting a short price. I'm going to be on the New York Rangers here, plus 1. Looks like they are plus 100. Yeah, you can get a plus price. Plus 105, actually, at some spots. So I like the Rangers here. Like, if this game is probably closer to even money, or if the Rangers are a road favorite of any kind, do I bet this? Probably not. But plus 100, plus 105 with Shesterkin, who's had a Vezina Trophy caliber season so far, that's a take for me. Getting the Rangers, getting this team with their premier goalie against a St. Louis team that is struggling to score, struggling with defense at times lately as well, and the 4-game losing streak. So it would be Rangers for me in this matchup here in the Midwest City, Rangers and Blues. All right, Anaheim Ducks and Nashville Predators. Next up, we've got Nashville minus 200, I get that right. Nashville minus 200 in this game against Anaheim. The total right now, 5.5 across the board in this one. It's hard to bet an Anaheim game under right now. You see what this team's doing defensively, and it is ugly. I can't believe how bad they were in their own end against Chicago a couple of nights ago. And again, that was a game when we were on the Betcast, and it was terrible for the Anaheim Ducks that night. Brutal defensively. This is going to be a spot, though, that maybe first period Anaheim, I look their direction a little bit. 8-3 loss against Chicago. They're actually just 2-4 in their last 6 games, and the only wins were Boston in the last minute, which was a quality win, but then they beat San Jose in overtime, which isn't saying a lot. The Sharks have not played well since the All-Star break, but I do expect in the first period of this game tonight, Anaheim to show me that, hey, we got to try to play a little bit better in this one after just an absolute shit show in the Windy City against the Blackhawks. Right now, there's issues for Anaheim, and it's John Gibson issues to the point where, look, he's not even confirmed yet in net. He gave up 5 goals on 13 shots, and he was out with a hand injury, but I don't want to hear that as an excuse. They were saying one of the teammates of John Gibson in the postgame for Anaheim the other night said, we feel for John, but hey, he's got a hand thing. No, he doesn't have I don't want to hear that, the hand injury. You only had the hand injury for 1 game that forced you to miss 1 game. You came back against Chicago and you struggled. You only got the hand injury recently. What explains the struggles of John Gibson before the hand injury? If this guy's making it sound like the hand injury is causing the problems that he had in net the other night. No, these have been 2 weeks straight now, maybe even 3, of struggles and inconsistency from, a guy that when he's on top of his game, he can be a top 5 goalie in the league, John Gibson. And we're not seeing that at the moment from him. So, this nonsense that the hand is causing him problems and is causing him to struggle right now is just a bunch of garbage as far as I'm concerned. He's been problematic in net for weeks now for this Anaheim Ducks team. So it's a lot more than just a little hand injury. As far as I'm concerned with Anaheim, with John Gibson's issues right now. And look, the fact they haven't even confirmed him in net tonight, they're wondering if he's healthy. They're wondering where his head's at, because this is not John Gibson like, folks. I mean, this is look at John Gibson's ledger since February 11th. He gave up 4 to Seattle, 4 to Calgary, 7 to Edmonton, 4 to Vancouver, 4 to LA, 3 to Boston, 5 to Vegas, 5 to Chicago, and of course got pulled the other night. So just absolutely a horrible run for him. Now, is it all on him? Of course not. Team defense plays a part, no question. Penalty kill plays a part in this as well. Although the penalty kill has actually been good for Anaheim. It's mostly been 5-on-5 offense. Even strength teams have been eating them up. So we'll see if they can turn it around here. But again, this Anaheim team is another one of those teams that have trended over for a long period of time. Anaheim 7-3 to the over in their last 10 games, 4-0 to the over their last 4 road games, 6-0 their last 6 to the over as a road underdog, 9-1 to the over their last 10 as an underdog. I mean, you go on and on and on. I mean, it's been nothing but over trends. And even series history, Anaheim-Nashville, 3-1-1 to the over in the last 5 meetings, and 27 of the last 40 meetings, excluding pushes, have gone over with these two teams head to head. So I do like over here, 5.5. I need to see evidence of a better defensive effort from the Anaheim Ducks before I'm ready to take an under involving them. And that's probably the way I will go here rather than either side. I might have a small play on Anaheim first period just because they're completely and utterly ashamed of the way they played against Chicago, and you'll get a good effort out of the gate in the first 20 minutes. But do I trust them to win the game over the course of 60 minutes? I'm not so sure about that against a Nashville team that enters this game playing, for their playoff lives right now, coming off a nice 2-1 win against the Dallas Stars, and they've won 2 in a row. So we'll see if they keep this rolling. So I will have a small play Anaheim at a big plus price in the first period, and I like over 5.5 as well in this one. All right, the other significant game of the night here in the National Hockey League, Tampa Bay, Calgary, really isn't going to get much better than this. It's going to be very, very fascinating to see how this game goes, but obviously it is a potential playoff and Stanley Cup final preview here. Tampa Bay and Calgary. You could say that too about Colorado and about Colorado and Carolina as well. But Tampa Bay and Calgary, we've got pretty much even money here, both sides in this game, about minus 110 on both sides for the Lightning and the Flames. The total in this game right now sitting at 6 across the board. Andrew, I believe, made the case for Calgary, and I think I will make the case for Calgary as well. And it's more than anything situational. The Calgary Flames have played a lot of hockey lately, and they still have played a lot of hockey. This is going to be, for them, their 6th game in 10 days. That is a lot of hockey. But you look at it for Tampa, this is their 5th game in 10 days. So it's not like they've been sitting around not playing and they're fully rested and fully energized either. They've played a lot of hockey as well. So when you look at this situation here, for the Lightning and the Flames, I think it's definitely going to be a very interesting. By the way, it looks like baseball's reached a tentative agreement on a new labor deal, so baseball might be back sooner than we thought. Wow, I was ready to write off the season, and apparently now it looks like there might be a CBA agreement. So. For those baseball fans out there, maybe some good news for you. But anyway, getting back to Tampa Bay and Calgary, I like Calgary here a little bit, minus 110. I don't love the idea of going against the Lightning off one of their worst games in a while, and Vasilevsky off one of his worst games in a while. He looked very, very awful in the Winnipeg loss, 7-4. Very uncharacteristic of Andrei Vasilevsky. He was fighting the puck. He was just not sharp whatsoever. There was one goal. I'm wondering how the hell did he let that get in? It squeaked right through him. It's just not the kind of goaltending you expect from Vasilevsky. And to be quite honest with you, he gave up 3 to Chicago before Tampa Bay offense kind of bailed him out. It's not. We'll see. I mean, they're very good off a loss. They are. We know that. They've been a very, very difficult team to bet against off a loss. That's the one thing that I'm thinking to myself, why would you do this? They're so good off a loss. We know that. Especially off a loss of 3 goals or more, 43-13 long term. That's a very, very good track record. Not an easy one to go against right now, but I think the Flames still at home. I like the way they're playing. There was some issues with Gaudreau with the knee injury that he actually had to leave the game against Washington because of it, but he's going to play tonight. He'll be fine, says Daryl Sutter. He'll be in the lineup. Calgary's been pretty damn good off a loss, too. I mean, all this talk, Tampa off a loss. Calgary's been very good off a loss as well. And Calgary, by the way, here's a stat that really means something to me. How do they play against great teams? How do they play against the best teams? They're 5-0 in their last 5 games with a team with a 60 or above win percentage this year. So this is a team that has definitely played good hockey. The bigger the game, the bigger the opponent. we've seen Calgary play well in these games against these type of teams, against teams the caliber of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I'm going to go with Calgary here, minus 110. It's a little bit of an unsettling feeling because Tampa Bay is going to play much harder and better, you would think, after the 7-4 loss to the Winnipeg Jets the other night. This could be a sneaky under, potentially. I mean, both of these teams we know can play defensive under hockey. We certainly know Calgary can. Tampa's going to want to, I think, after giving up 7 the other night, although I think 1 or 2 of those were empty net goals. And we just saw Calgary and Markstrom give up 5 the other night in the loss to the Washington Capitals, which was, a bit of a difficult spot for the Flames. Talked about how they had just come off big showdowns with Edmonton and Colorado, which again goes to the point that I just made about Calgary's record against teams with a good win percentage and a good winning record. They beat Edmonton, they beat Colorado on Saturday on the road. So they've definitely found ways to play their best against the best teams. So I'm looking at Calgary here, minus 110 in this one. All right, final. And by the way, props wise, I'm going to repeat it one more time, but Mangiapane, Lindholm for Calgary, it goes without saying to look toward them. For Tampa Bay, there's been some guys that have just in the bargain bin department, they've lit the lamp. Sergachev has scored in 3 of the last 5 games. He's plus 800 to score a goal. He's a defenseman, but he's been shooting the puck a lot. You can get a huge number on him. And again, he has scored in 3 of the last 5 games for Tampa Bay, and he's plus 800 to score a goal. Mikhail Sergachev for Tampa Bay. Let's see some other bargain prices. Toffoli, is plus 210. Corey Perry's worth a look. Victor Hedman's worth a look. He's scored in 5 of the last 10. Same with Perry for the Lightning. They've both scored in half of their the Lightning's last 10 games, and you can get both of them around the plus 350 range to score a goal tonight. So I think some decent options, in terms of going down the board for value-laden player goal scorer props in this game tonight. All right, final game. We have finally gotten there, the 13th and final game. Lucky number 13. I don't know if this is lucky number 13. It's not the greatest game on the card, but it is the last game to break down San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings. We've got the LA Kings minus 195 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Very tricky spot. Very tricky spot for the LA Kings. They're coming back home off the road trip that they just finished, and they finished it in style with a come-from-behind overtime victory against the Boston Bruins in that final game of the road trip. But they are still the better of these squads. It's a lot of times I'm looking situationally to take San Jose, in this kind of spot. But I can't do it with this group. They're playing just absolutely horrendous hockey. Their offense has kind of dried up lately. They've scored 1-3-1-0-2 goals in their last 5 games. So the offense isn't clicking. You're talking about a team that's down both of their top 2 goalies now. Aiden Hill and James Reimer now both out. So you're relegated to Zach Sawchenko and journeyman goaltender supreme Alex Stalock as your 2 goalies right now for the San Jose Sharks. That's not a bet-on situation at any point. I don't care how good the spot is. That's not a bet-on situation to me. If you want to be safe, maybe San Jose plus a half in the first period. LA's a little, jet lagged. I could see that. And there has been money on San Jose here with the Kings opening minus 230. Kings are now just minus 180, minus 190. So we've seen some San Jose money, and I understand why. It's not a great spot for the LA Kings. Those first games home off a long Eastern road trip, they're not easy. And for LA, they went through Dallas, Columbus, Buffalo, and Boston, 4 games. And now they play 2 days later here at home against San Jose. And whatever the case may be, San Jose seems to give LA trouble. San Jose's actually won 6 of the last 7 head-to-head meetings. San Jose is 6-1 in the last 7 against LA. So the Sharks have played this team very well. San Jose beat LA 6-2 in January when they last played, the only other time they've played this year. So revenge spot for LA. And LA's playing better now than they were back then. They've won 3 in a row, of course, 8-2 in their last 10 games. No doubt, LA playing great hockey. The Sharks, believe it or not, though, within a point. The Sharks are way out of it. But it's funny, when these 2 teams met in January, when they beat LA, that win put San Jose within a point of LA in the standings. And now look where they are. They're completely different spectrums right now. So Right now, I'd probably look more toward props in this game. Sawchenko actually wasn't that bad in his last start for the San Jose Sharks. He's just a young kid thrown into the fire here. He still only got a 3.18 goals against average, 908 save percentage in the NHL this season. But against Anaheim, in that game, he wasn't that bad. 3 goals allowed in that performance a few days ago, losing to the Ducks 3-2. We'll see how he fares here. They are going to have to play him now because you threw Alex Stalock in there against Nashville Saturday night for his first start, and you saw what happened there, 8-0 for the Nashville Predators. So I think when you look at this game here, it's a real tough game. It's a real tough game. I would lean toward LA winning the game, but I'm just not going to take them in this spot. It's just not a spot you want to lay minus 195 with anybody. And then you start looking at the way the Sharks have played against the Kings, and they've been a tough out for the Kings. And yeah, it makes me not interested in the Kings tonight. I've made a lot of money on LA lately. You know that. We've taken them a lot. I had them against Boston as a big plus 185 underdog as a best bet earlier this week on the show. We've had our share of good performance, good betting winners with the LA Kings lately. Tonight's just, for me, not the spot to be jumping in on them. All right, great. Adrian Kempe to score a goal potentially, though, for the Kings. It's always worth a look with him. He's been very good lately. I've mentioned that. Trevor Moore, that's the one. Trevor Moore for the LA Kings. Why not? Why not Trevor Moore? He scored in 2 of the last 5 games for this LA Kings team, and he has scored in 3 of the last 10, but you're getting plus 350, plus 400 with him. Maybe Rudolph's Balsers for San Jose can find the back of the net. He has scored for the San Jose Sharks in 4 of the last 10 games, and he's plus 450. Again, you do the math. The guy has scored Rudolph's Balsers for San Jose 4 of the last 10 games, and you can get him at plus 450 tonight. That means there's value on him to score a goal. When you look at the percentages, you look at the current form, and you look at the recent numbers. So there's a couple props I might consider there. Kempe and Moore for LA, maybe Rudolph's Balsers, a little value there. Plus 450 on him to score tonight against LA. All right, great stuff. That is the Thursday card, 13 games. I wasn't sure we were going to get through them all, but we did. We appreciate all of you joining us for the show each and every day. Hit the like button. Please, we implore you to do that. It definitely helps us out quite a bit. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. We'll get to my best bet in just a second. But before we do that, we have to talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, of course. Great partners here at the Hockey Podcast Network and the Ice Guys, of course, and an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The NHL season has been packed with dirty dangles, hat tricks, and big wins as the action rolls on. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has your shot to win big too. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right, a bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If the DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, best bets to wrap up this marathon edition of the Ice Guys. And we're going to have a much shorter show tomorrow with just 4 games on tap. And then, of course, we'll have a big show on Saturday. Vito will be back in the house for the weekend, as he always is. But we'll wrap it up now for a Thursday with a best bet. And for best bet tonight on the show, this is a tough one. Huge card, lots of choices, lots of opportunities, lots to choose from tonight on this slate. But I'm going to end up going with, in this one, I'm still thinking. I'm down to a couple. I got to make up our mind. I'm going to go with this, and you can get a minus 140 on it at a couple of books. 6 if you can find 6, okay. I still recommend it at 6. If you can shop around, find the couple 5.5s that are out there, even better. I'm going to go Blue Jackets Islanders over 5.5. Islanders are now a little bit of an overrun. struggling defensively, and Columbus seems to play overs with anybody right now. Let's go with that. Let's go Columbus, New York Islanders, over 5.5, minus 140, or 6 if you can. If that's all you can find at the book you're betting at, I still recommend it. Columbus, New York Islanders, over 5.5 for my best bet for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. We appreciate it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks to Andrew McInnis for joining us earlier. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy all the action. 13 games, an action-packed Thursday night in the NHL. Enjoy the games and good luck. Cash some tickets on the ice, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.